All right. Hey, everybody. I don't know why my face is so lit up tonight. It must be the computer reading it somehow different. I don't know. Whatever. Um, what day is it today? February
Monday.
13, Monday. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Does everybody got their Valentine's cards? Do
Yes.
you remember that in grade school?
Oh,
They
yes.
used to bring Valentine's cards to school. Oh, that's so embarrassing. Um,
It's
anyways,
sweet.
it's sweet. It is. Yeah. Um, what was I going to say? I wanted to sort of pick up on where we left off because there's a story, there's a theme going through. But before we do that, um, got some new faces. Kevin's a new kid on the block. He is launching his business tomorrow night. We're doing an event, and then again Thursday, and this is his kickoff week. So some veterans here on the Zoom, Kevin. I don't know if you're able to go live or what you're doing with their camera, but thought maybe you could use some words of wisdom from people who've been there, done that. By the way, just as an FYI, I was on a call with the Quebec group at 8, and one of the things that came up, particularly in our conversation with Kevin, was he was having a challenge calling, making those initial calls. And I brought up the terror barrier, of course, many of you know, and just show of hands, how many of you have experienced the terror barrier? Take note, Kevin. It's everybody. Everybody experiences the terror barrier. That's just the reality of when we're about to make a quantum leap in our life, going from where we are to where we want to be. It's, there's a video, it's a short one, it's about 8 minutes. I think I shared about a week ago with my mentor, Bob Proctor, talking about the terror barrier and how, you're on one side of that wall and you want to be on the other side of that wall. This is where you are, sum total of everything you've known and done. And this is where you want to be. And, if you really want to be there, you got to get from here to here. And there's only one way, and that's through the wall, through the terror barrier. So, in other words, regardless of what you fear, do it anyway. You just do it anyway. And eventually, what you were afraid of becomes insignificant. There's no fear. It becomes familiar. And now you're on the other side of the terror barrier. So, there's no shortcut through the terror barrier. You just got to do it anyway. So, you've got a whole bunch of people here who've been there. So, there, Kevin's still there. So, any words of wisdom for Kevin in his opening week of launching his Nikan career? Anyone?
Sure, I'll jump in. What I mean, there's always the beginning, and so if you have something to invite people to, and you're asking them from a place of, I think it's so important that you center yourself, and you know what you have to offer is of great value. And then the next thing is to let it go what their decision is going to be. So if you have lots of people that you're asking, then what someone says, and if they say no, it's you're just at the very beginning of your business. So a year from now or 6 months from now, the answer might be yes. So if they say no, it's no, not now. And with lots of people, it doesn't matter. We have to meet people where they are and their timing, and we're no different. If somebody approaches us, we're not ready until we're ready. And so, I think the best policy is to be respectful with that. The other thing I want to say, because I've been loving working with Richard Brooks. So I'm on his Momentum program right now. And one of the reasons, two reasons I did the program, other than the fact that I think he's brilliant, he has a lot of creds with me. One was that I felt like it would be a great way for me to get in momentum. And the second one is I wanted to learn what I could learn from him so I could teach my team. So this is like my new thing now. The dream team over there, it's under Debbie Jones, but those three ladies are rocking it. And they've been working on their 1 minute video. So basically what Richard teaches is to craft a story that's about 1 minute long it can be 1.5 minutes, but he says 1 minute, so it's not 2 or 3 minutes. And he has certain aspects of what he puts he thinks is significant. It's kind of, it's crafted a little bit of sales psychology. You don't say Niken, you don't even talk about a specific product. You talk about one experience. And anyhow, it's been a great tool. And I think that is such a great way to start your business because you get your story down. It takes a minute to craft it. It takes another minute to get it recorded. You got to do it several times over so it doesn't sound like you're doing a presentation. But then you've got a tool that you can send out with a personalized text message, and that you can move fast with that. It's a lot
And
easier to
fast is
send.
great.
It's a lot quicker. I mean, I started about 10 days ago, and I have my calendar. This is last year's calendar, and I'm checking. I don't know if you can see, but I'm doing 4 to 6 or 8 or 9 a day, and it doesn't take very long. And I haven't done this much calling and asking in a long time.
Let me
So
ask you, Sherry, if you got your story done and an example, would you mind sharing that on our chats so we can see what
sure,
is, you've taken some time to do it,
sure.
and maybe an example of what your message would be. So like send it out to the group chat, and then
Okay.
the next message is, this is a typical uh, message that you would receive from me if you were on my contact list. That would be awesome because I've been talking about that too. I love Richard. And
Yeah.
this idea of the 1 minute, you're breaking through the ice. How do we crack that code? How do we get our warm market list to a little bit more of a hot market list, so that the call, when we do make the call, it's not going to be so stressful or hard to get a hold of somebody because you've already pre-qualified them with this little video clip. But it's not
Yep.
really, you're not saying anything. You're not presenting anything. You're creating a motivation for them to want to have a conversation. I think it's brilliant. We used to do that in the olden days with our prospecting tapes, which were 15, 20, sometimes 1 hour long. I remember there was a prospecting tape called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. They
Right.
sold some type of a nutritional, but the tape was all about these doctors who, the average life of the doctor's lifespan was like 55 or something like that. And there's this really long-winded anyway, that thing, they went through hundreds of thousands of those audios, and it was a great way to create attention. But obviously today's world, our attention span is so much shorter. And if you just send a generic video out, it's just another spam. It's just another blah. But if it's your face and it's somebody you've relationship with, then they're going to listen to it. It's like a personal message. So I think it's great. It's a great icebreaker.
I
Awesome.
just I just posted it in the chat. And you say different things for the ask. I mean, Richard's got a whole thing about the ask, but the one line that he always has in any ask, which I'm totally duplicating, is he says, "I would be honored if you would take the time to watch it." I always say it's a short video because it's not, you don't want people to think, "My goodness, it's going to be 20 minutes." But that saying you'd be honored, it puts a perspective. It's hard for people to say, "Well, I'm not gonna honor you." I mean, it just kind of levels it out. So I like
Yeah,
that
I really like
language.
that. I like that.
So I'm not putting the other part of it because it might be I met you at networking or, you know, it, whatever it is. But then I basically am just saying I created a short video to tell my story. So
Okay, cool. Well, actually, I was thinking I created a short video to tell my story. I'd be honored for you to watch it. I was suggesting that maybe you shared that
you want me to share the video?
on the chats, on the core consultant chat, for instance.
Oh, got you, got you, got you.
Yeah.
That's
That
what you
way,
mean.
that way,
Oh, okay.
we're all
Sure,
getting the education because I
sure.
mean, we're in that mode. Everybody's in the modality of launching Niken, and we all have those incentives available to us until the end of March. So I think this tool is again another example. When Bo launched Bob Proctor way back in the day, Bob and Linda Proctor, he he got Bob to do a little clip, a little short audio. And then that was blasted out to their contacts. And then, of course, everybody wanted to know, well, what's this all about? So it just made when they actually reached out, just easier to do, more effective, easier to do. People were ready to hear the call rather than that opening jitters, because everybody has those opening jitters. But going back to the initial launch, so that audio, you're doing 4 to 6, a day. That's important. I think that's really critical, is the volume. I suggested to Kevin, he's got to get through his list as fast as possible, because it's going to be fun when you're dealing with people who are interested, and you won't be so preoccupied with people who aren't.
Right.
I'd rather have 10 people who are interested and not worry about 90 who aren't. But I had to get to those 10 through the 90. So, okay, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. Great. Thanks, Sherry.
Sure.
Barbara, your hand up.
Yeah, I'll add something to what Sherry said. At the end of your video or your presentation, Richard also recommends that you say, it's okay to say yes, no, or maybe, because no today may not be no tomorrow. Today is not the right time. Tomorrow might be a great time. Sorry.
Is that in your audio, Sherry?
Yeah, I mean, in some cases he has people do, I mean, his example was to say 1, 2, or 3, and then he identifies, 1 means no thank you. I don't use the 1, 2, and 3, but I say at the end of my story, hey, if this isn't your jam, no worries. But maybe you know somebody that would be interested. If you want to learn more about the products, you're looking for natural health, let me know that. And if you're interested, if I caught your attention and you're looking for an extra income, you'd like to hear more about that, then let's schedule a time to meet, something to that nature. So I'm giving them 3 different options.
Okay, cool. I like to say this may not be for you. However, as you're listening, you may have thought of somebody. If you can't help me directly, help me indirectly. Point me in the direction of that somebody. And ideally, we could partner up. That would be the most, so that's another way of saying, I'd love to work with you. Again, just really good tool to get massive action happening. And I think, man, that used to be a thing we used to say almost all the time. Do you remember that? Massive action. You got to take massive action. That is how you launch this business. It's massive action. And you're going to get your feet wet. You're going to get your fingers burned. So what? It's part of the fun. It's part of the experience. And you're going to have results. And the thing is, the results are duplicatable. That's the most important part of it, is that what you're doing is something you can then teach somebody else how to do. Right. And as that starts to ripple out, now what you have is a going concern.
I'd like to say something more, if I may, Mike. Oh, sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Sherry was something that I think is really important when you have somebody that's showing an interest, is to ask a number of questions to find out what is their true interest. Don't assume anything.
Yeah. What's their why?
When you're asking them questions, listen to understand what they're saying, instead of formulating a reply in your mind to maybe the first statement they made, but you're not really hearing what they're asking for. They may be asking for help in a specific area, but if you're not really listening to understand what they're saying, you're going to miss it entirely. And
that actually came up. That actually came up and I used Kevin as an example. I said, let's just do this, you and me right now. And I don't really know Kevin all that well, but just from the little bit I do know, I said, I called him. I pretended that I called him and I made my statement as to why I'm calling him, the things about him that I like. And then he had told me before we did this practice run that he was interested in improving his finances in society. So I threw it out there. I said, I think you're somebody who wants to you've told me you want to make a difference in your finances and society, make an impact. I said, and then here's the key question. I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you? And what he replied was 7.5. And then I said, well, that's a problem, because quite honestly, if it's not a 10, Kevin, you and I would be both wasting our time. And then he said, well, what do I need to say? What do I need to do? I said, well, let me ask you, what would you want the money for? Like, why you want to improve your finances? For what reason? And he said, well, I want to travel and experience more freedom. I said, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about that? He said 11. I said, okay, now we have a reason. And it was just that little question, that little on a scale of 1 to 10, and then pull back. If it's not a 10, if it's not a 10, pull back, and then reassert and just find out, okay, what, how serious, well, what would you be serious about improving? So, and that was enough, because now you have a real motive. Now you have a genuine, honest 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 motive that person can then be held to account on, because it's their motive, and it's really their motive. So most important in that initial conversation is to really identify, why would somebody take the time out to learn about this, to really
Well, if we jump to
investigate.
conclusions too, we think they want to know about a product or whatever, we get verbal diarrhea, giving them all these facts and figures, and then you see the eyes sort of in the headlights sort of thing, and they start glazing over, and they're backing away because it's overwhelming, and it's not what they were looking for. It's not what they asked. So, really listen to understand.
Paul Gabias. Thanks, Barb.
Hey, thanks, Mike. We can kind of flip this around a bit. We're a very, very friendly audience, Kevin. And maybe you'd like to talk with us about why NECAD, why now? What are you thinking? Because it's a whole lot easier to give some pointers to somebody if we know something about them than just kind of shooting off the hip.
Well, Kevin's off screen right now. So Kevin, are you available to be on screen, or at least on audio? There you are.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm here.
That's okay. That's good. It's good.
Talking with someone. I heard my name, so what was that about?
Mike
Very
is
sorry.
say it again.
You've been hearing your name for a while, so I've been talking about you. That's all. We just what happened in our previous call, the little thing that you and I went through in our previous call. First, I talked about the terror barrier that you're in, and then we went and talked about the your why, and how I had asked you on a scale of 1 to 10, and we got clarity on that, what your real motivation was. Yeah, and Paul was just suggesting maybe you've got a friendly audience here if you wanted to share your why.
Sure, my why. Sure. My why is well, mostly I'm looking to find freedom, to just do the things that I love and be with the person that I love, and eventually just go out and travel and not have any need for anything else. Yeah, but mostly freedom.
And so if I were somebody that I would say, oh, well, how does that affect me? How could I help or not help, or what does it have to do with me? That's what I'd say if I heard that.
Well, I guess I would answer with, it's not about what you can do for me, it's about what I can do for you, and how I can show you this opportunity that maybe you could be a part of too.
Okay, I like that. That's definitely going in the right direction. Good turnaround. I almost feel like saying it's not about what you can do for me, it's about what we can do together.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Because again, that then it moves beyond me. Oh, I'm here to save you, and into there's something we can do together where we can win together.
You're right.
Yeah, because then I would want to know, well, okay, how? Well,
yeah, that's the next part, the how.
The easiest way, of course, what I do anyway, is say, well, why don't I send you a short video that tells you is just very brief. It takes a minute or two to listen to, and then we can talk after that. And I want to know, well, are they going to take a week to listen to it, or can they talk to me the next day? I told them it's only a minute and a half. So I'm already I'm testing, and then okay, I'll watch it tomorrow, and then we set a time to talk, and then I could say, you know, I'm very new with this, but would you mind if I brought in a colleague that I know that knows more about this than I do, but you know, but first listen to the video, and then let's see where we go from there. Can we set a time to talk, and then that gets set, and bringing in the other person is set, and you're off the hook.
There you go. So in other words, he's talking about bringing the A, which is what I'm doing tomorrow. Tomorrow night I'm presenting, and then you don't have to worry about any of the details, because that's my job to present. By the way, you missed the first part where we talked about terror barrier. Asked, has anybody on the call here experienced terror barrier? And you missed everybody's hand go up. Because I wanted to show you. See, Kevin, everybody has this. What was the other thing I was going to say? Yes. This brings to mind something I did want to share. And that is, okay, so if we have an interested prospect, but actually before I go there, Sherry, when you're sending it out, are you asking them for when they can watch it? Or are you asking them to watch it right away? What are you saying?
I haven't said that.
Okay.
But I'm following up. So if I haven't heard from them, I mean, I put it on YouTube, so I'm watching the numbers go up, which is kind of thrilling. Every day I check my YouTube channel to see how many views I have. I have no idea who's watched it from that. So unless they respond to me, I had somebody that called me and said, I just watched your video. So that was pretty cool. I was shopping today.
Speaking of which, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So
I was going to, yeah, go.
Yeah, I haven't done that, but that's I'm open to hearing that. The other thing I've done that I'm experimenting is I've sent a message to people, and I've said something like, you've heard me talk about the products, but you probably don't know the whole story. If I was to send you a video, would you watch it? So I'm kind of getting a little bit of psychology of like, I'm only going to get it. I'm only going to give it to you if you ask me nicely. So
yeah, that's always good. If I, would you? That's Eric Worre's favorite line. If I, would you? I did want to say, one of the things that we talked extensively about in our call with the French team, because they're in the launch mode, as are all of us, is, and we talked about this last week, you need a system. Today you would have received this. Come on, share the screen. There we go. Okay. Hopefully you all saw this. It was posted on the chats. It's the new revised Niken Connect. Okay. Why is this important? One of the reasons why we publish this is not because we like publishing things. It's because this is the system. This forms the backbone of the system, which is the support structure that people can tune into, plug into, and promote to guests, prospects, and consultants, so that they have access to all the things Niken. Everything from the psychology to the products to the testimonials to the presentations to the calls like this one, which are training and so forth. This is the backbone. This is having a McDonald's franchise at your fingertips. All of the knowledge, all of the tools, all of the events that somebody can plug into in the course of introducing people and educating those people into the benefits of Niken. So the only thing I would add to this, what I was saying is, this ought to be one of your handouts. So if you are in the presentation of Niken, part of that presentation must include the system. It's the products, the business, and the system. If you're not showing them the system, you're not showing them how they can actually succeed, how they can replicate. The products is targeting them as a consumer. The business is theoretical. The system is the application. This is how they can actually see it in action. And then they realize, oh, I just have to tap into this. And then they're going to see some things maybe here for themselves where, oh, I want to know more about this, or I want to know as a consumer, consuming the information. So having this as a PDF that you can send to somebody as part of the presentation materials to present to them the idea that there is in fact a system. The only thing that you would add to this, if you were adding anything, is, for instance, if you're part of a specific launch campaign that you're doing in your city, or in your home, or around a particular consultant where you have a launch strategy like we do with Kevin, for instance, or like I do with the Quebec team. They have a special calendar of events in addition to this, but it's specific to that group. And so you would attach that calendar or add that calendar as part of the system. And I think if you're not doing that, you're missing an important element in why you're not sponsoring, is because they're not getting access to the information that would warrant that understanding that there's a system here that they can leverage. That's what makes it doable. That's what makes it possible for them to learn on the go, what makes it possible for them to leverage and not have to be the teacher and the professor and the coach and this and that, because it's already there. They just have to bring people in, and the system there is there to support the people they bring in. It creates a tremendous amount of relief and liberty in knowing that. So that needs to become part of your discussion, which is why it's a published document. Any questions about that? Good. Barbie, behind you.
I do, because it's been mentioned several times about sending a video out. I have a suggestion. When you're following up with somebody that you've sent a video to, you don't say to them, what'd you think about the video? You say to them, what did you like best about the video? Because it immediately puts them into a positive mindset. And then they start to think about the things that they liked. So, and it always works. It always works.
Excellent. Good idea. Great idea. What else, guys? We're in launch mode. What other things, tips would you give somebody who's going to launch this week?
I just say, Mike, that with the video, Bo has said many times to ask, could you watch it in the next 15 minutes? That might sound a bit pushy, but it accomplishes something. They'll either say yes or no, but it gives the idea that there's some urgency, and maybe the next day or something. It just sets a tone. And I've tried it, and it actually works. So I used to think, oh, gee, can I really ask that? But I can.
There's something I said on the call that I think is worth saying and repeating. I'm sure I said it before. I've been with Nikan 31 years. And if I look at the sum total of my Nikan experience, who wouldn't I want to gift that to? You know, somebody went out of their way to invite me to look at Nikan, not knowing whether I would be interested at all, not knowing, you know, what would come of it at all. Just having enough courage and enough confidence in me to just throw it my way. And that changed my life. It changed my trajectory, my family's, everything changed because of that. What if that person had not done that? If they had not picked up the phone, if they had not invited me, oh my God, I'd dread the thought. So I think it's important to say, okay, if Nikan could really make somebody with the right vision, the right attitude, the right work ethic, if that could give them a lifestyle, if that could change the trajectory of their life, you don't think they would be grateful to you for the rest of their life? Of course they would. So even though we have this idea, we don't know what's on the other side of the phone. Put that on the other side of the phone. What's on the other side of the phone is that possibility. And what stands between them and the possibilities, you, and this little fear that you got going on in your head, like, you know, like what they think of you is more important than what they could possibly benefit from. So I think if we put it to the right perspective, we should get over the fear immediately and realize that what's holding this person up from potential of having this life and this quality of life is me. Let me get out of the way, get this information in their hands. They can make a decision for themselves. They've been doing it all their life. They're not going to stop because of me. Yeah. So any other thoughts? What would you say to somebody launching their business this week? Come on, guys. This
like
is,
Any
Go ahead.
doubts? Ask lots of questions.
So I want to add to it. I think that the biggest thing is you don't give up, right? Those that don't succeed is because they've given up too soon. This is a business, right? And you have to keep at it and keep at it. It's really, you can't just say, oh, it's getting a little too hard and just quit, because then I don't know. I always tell my kids, if it's worth having, it's worth working for. And that's the way I feel about our business.
Anyone else? Thank you.
I would say too that you come at it as a student and you have the mind of you got a lot to learn. And that means, of course, three-way calls or ABCs or however, Zooms, such a great way to learn. So you're working with people that know more, and also, of course, plugging into all the events like the Nikan Connect. And additionally, to be reading maybe a couple of things that are in the industry and something inspirational. Because, I mean, I have books that I have read in part. I read it through maybe once or twice, but I can pick it up at any point in the book and read something. And it's like, well, that was exactly what I needed to hear. So I think when you're launching, it's really important to support your spirit and your ability to expand, to extend yourself, to see big things. And we have to give that fuel to ourselves every single day, especially when we're launching, because we have to keep reminding ourselves that we can do big things, that we can have a bigger life than we have right now.
Whatever you could do to have fun yourself and make it fun for the people you're talking to, that certainly never hurts. That's
Yeah, people like to have fun. It's a lot more interesting when people have fun.
And your story is important. Nobody can argue with your story. Whatever it was that got you excited about Nikan, nobody can say, well, no, that didn't excite you. You didn't really think that. You didn't. They can't. So your story is like gold. It's just, I'm excited and I just wanted to share this with you.
All right. Well, Kevin, how about you? Do you have a question for anybody?
That's a good question. Do I have a question for anyone? I don't know. Ask Cabeto. Cabeto, do you have a question for anyone?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. My camera's bugging, but I'm glad you can hear me. Yes, I do have a question actually. One that keeps popping up, I hear a lot here in Quebec at the moment. I've heard from Kevin and from Angelica as well, is people have the resistance because they think that Nikan is a pyramid scheme or something like that. So can I have some examples perhaps from some of you of how you fend off these types of I don't know, comments from prospects, like this skepticism? Like, how do you deter that in a smooth way and bring the conversation back to where it needs to be?
I'd like to start. I usually like to ask a question. For me, that's standard protocol. If somebody raises an objection, any objection, I want clarity. I want to understand what they mean by what they're saying. So I might just ask, can you be more specific? I don't understand what you're saying. And then you let them explain, because they use that word, they almost hide behind that word as though they know what they're talking about, because that's the word they've heard other people use. Let them explain it to you and say, well, gosh, that, you know, if that's the way I saw it, I probably wouldn't want to do it myself, but that's not how I saw it, or that's not how I see it. And then they're going to want to know, well, how do you see it? And then it's your opportunity now to present it in a way that brings some light to it. Usually the word pyramid, if they're still using that word, they're stuck in the 60s. You know, like that word, it's not even a word, because it's a metaphor for every single corporation on the planet. So it's not really the word to use. That's why I want them to explain it. You know, the church is a pyramid. Every corporation is a pyramid. So that's not the right word. Can you be more? I don't understand what you're saying. Can you be more specific? So I understand if we're talking about the same thing. And then usually when they go to explain it, you'll find out that they're describing something that is remotely familiar, but is not what you've experienced. Ruth, do you have an answer to that?
So I like to address it to say, first of all, a pyramid is illegal. And we have been in business for 47 years. And obviously we're not illegal because we've been around for 47 years. The other thing I like to mention is that typically in a pyramid, and whether they understand or not, because I don't want them to feel dumb or anything like that, I just said typically in a pyramid, it's the reason why it's illegal is that you're paying money for nothing. There's no exchange of products, no services. So that's illegal. So you're just getting people to give you money and you have nothing in exchange. So I said, we have products that can help your body, support you and balance. So I go through that part. And usually I don't have problems with that comment when I say those things. So that does, and the other thing I want, just like what Sherry was talking about, we need to understand the vibration and what we're going to put out. If you are concerned about it being a pyramid or it being a bad thing, that is what's going to come from within, from you. So you have to be careful with what you are portraying to others, because that doesn't just come. That's the law of attraction. It's coming because you're attracting it.
Yeah,
So,
great point. Thank you for that. So, so I'm going to make a recommendation here. Quevedo, there's a book called The 4-Year Career, and you can probably get this Amazon to you, or you can download. Probably there's a free copy on PDF on Google. Just Google the 4-Year Career. Maybe even Leo has a copy you can get from him. But this little book, it's a very short read. It's literally, you know, maybe a half an hour to an hour read. It was written by Richard Brooke, who you've heard mentioned tonight. A lot of what we're doing and teaching, like that short video, the introductory video, is a suggestion he made. Anyway, this book is a great book for educating someone on what exactly is it that we're involved in and what's the brilliance of it. Because when you comprehend it from that level, it's not a dirty word. It's like, it's what people think it is, and the behavior that's involved is probably because they experienced it from somebody. So non-professionals, people who act in a very unprofessional way, you would probably say, I wouldn't want to be like that person. I wouldn't want to do what they're doing. I could be talking about any industry, vacuum cleaner sales or car sales or banker or anything, real estate. If you got a bad vibe from somebody or a bad experience because they were pushy or they were not professional, they didn't take your motivation into consideration, they were just trying to sell you something, all of those things would give you a bad taste. And a lot of people have had that. There's nothing there's, you know, if there's network marketing is guilty for one thing, it's providing anybody the opportunity to build a network marketing business. You don't have to go to school. You don't get a degree. You don't have to prove you know what you're talking about. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can join a network marketing business and call themselves an entrepreneur. And so you got all kinds of people clouding the waters of what network marketing is. but professionals of every industry are professional. They're mindful, they're respectful, and they are respected in turn. So if you up your game and you say, okay, I'm not going to be an amateur about this. I'm not going to go around doing what all the amateurs do. I'm going to be a professional and start addressing yourself as that. I'm a network marketing professional. Then you're going to see yourself in that light. People will then start to look at it in a different light because, as Ruth was pointing out, you're projecting a different energy. And, you know, quite frankly, I don't know anybody who wouldn't trade their life for mine if they knew what it meant to have a successful career in network marketing. We're not talking about just money. Money is one thing. It's how you earn that money that defines who you are and your character. And
Absolutely,
if you've become successful in network marketing, chances are you're a pretty special person because you've grown into someone who understands the human condition and is caring and compassionate enough that others will follow you. And so, you know, the people at the upper end of the spectrum are, in my opinion, some of the wisest people I know. And I know a lot of people who are network marketing professionals who I would trust with anything. That doesn't mean we don't bring in the riffraff, because where there's money, you're going to bring in the riffraff. You're going to find all kinds of people who want that too.
Yeah.
But it's like every profession. If you take it professionally and you understand that maybe it's got a bad rap because anybody can get involved, and they probably bumped into a few people who were not very professional about it. And their impression is, man, if that's what it takes to become successful, thanks, no thanks. I don't blame them. That's when you can step back and say, look, you know what? This is one of the lines I remember I heard somebody say, it's not network marketing people have an objection to, it's network marketers. Because so many of them are so unprofessional. The industry itself is brilliant. The concept itself is the most magnificent form of compensation ever devised by man. Man, you make that statement out loud to somebody, they're going to say, I don't even know if they're going to say anything. Because, wow, okay, how'd you come to that conclusion? Well, let me show you. And then, in fact, you can just hand them this book. This book is a prospecting book. It's designed specifically to answer that question.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for that answer. As you can see my face, I'm smiling. And
great.
And yeah, so I'm taking away that well, a lot of good information, and I'm going to definitely keep an eye out or read that book to arm myself with some knowledge.
Perfect. And that's exactly the right thing to do. Yeah. Knowledge is power. Barbara.
I can't remember the exact quote, and I can't remember if it was Richard Brooke or Eric Worre that said it, but the comment was, yes, it does take work, but the work is worth it. And that's something to keep in mind, that every step we take in this business is worth it. Because if you quit, your big result, your big aha, your big moment might have been the next person you talk to. So you don't give up. Don't ever give up, and ask lots of questions.
Excellent. Will do. I have lots of those.
Good. And remember, you also have people who are willing and accessible. So, you know, one of the first things that I did when I had somebody who was really interested in starting asking me a bunch of questions is I immediately got my upline on the phone, because I just knew this is now out of my hands. Now they need some real answers, and they need somebody who's got some credibility to answer that. And then that was it. So the learning when to apply the ABC, which is sooner than later, is also critical to success. It's the better you are at it, the more often you do it, the more you're able to duplicate, because what people are seeing is something that's duplicatable. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to have all the answers, but you do know people who do.
Excellent.
I can comment on that too. I'm on the low money side of the equation. I'm not as fortunate as Dr. Paul is, but I'm a blind person on Social Security, so I have to really watch my money. But I've been in it now for 4 or 5 years. I'm one of these permanent executives that's trying to get to silver. It's taking a while though, but but I'm working closely with Paul and Mary Ellen.
That's excellent. I mean, that's the best you could do because obviously they have experience. They've helped others achieve the rank of silver and help others overcome whatever perceived obstacles there are. That's, it's really just a perception, because the truth of the matter is the opportunity is the opportunity, and it's what you make of it. And it's not who presented it to you that determines that. So you're just that person who gets the message into somebody's hands. It's up to them what they're going to do with it, how they're going to read it, how they're going to apply it. So if we don't make ourselves too important, meaning if we don't preoccupy ourselves with our station in life or where we're at right now, or what fear you might be dealing with, or any of those, if you don't make it about you and your shortcomings, and you focus entirely on what it could be for somebody else and the benefits they could possibly get from this, based on what you're seeing, the evidence you're seeing tonight, and the evidence you've been seeing until now, obviously there is a benefit. If you don't make it about you and you make it about what possibly could be beneficial to them, then your energy will be different, and you'll have an easier time of presenting it to people because it won't be about you. You won't be preoccupied with your own reaction to it or whatever. It's just simply output, output, output. It's, as Dave Rolfe would say, outflow. So you're always in outflow. You're always sharing from a place of goodwill. And that's how you're going to make an impact. And if you're worried about you being the message instead of the message being the message, leverage, get that help from the ABC, use third-party tools. If you're not crazy about your story and Paul's got a great story, you want to share Paul's little 90-minute video, 90-second video or 60-second video, hell, share Paul's if that's what it takes. A lot of people always ask me, what's the best video to use? My answer is always the same. The one that has you excited. If you're excited about it, send that one. Sherry?
Another thing that Richard Brooks has been saying is that it's so important. His thing is, when people want more information, send them a tool and then find out what they like, follow up with them, send them another tool. And you keep using the tools so that until they're ready to make a decision, you're just asking them to, well, you want to watch something else. What else would you like to know? Because it's kind of what you're saying. I mean, I think the thing that people are doing I always like to think that we're tour guides. We're giving people a tour to introduce them to what is Nikken so they can get an idea of what the culture is all about. What are we really about? And I think that I lost my train of thought. If what they're doing in this process is they're saying to themselves, can I do this? Do I want to do this? And if you show your brilliance, and I've been guilty about this, I know too much stuff about these products, and I sometimes just wah, wah, wah. So I'm learning to use we now have lots of short videos. We didn't used to always have these, but we do have them now. So I think being able to give somebody else and show them that you don't have to know everything, and then to get them on a three-way call so that they can see that you don't have to know everything. That is where you can, because you want at the end to say, could you do what I just did? Because what I just did is the business. What I just did in walking you through it, that's the essence of what we do. If you had fun, if it's exciting, if you like the people you met, you have a good feeling about the culture, then this is what it's all about. This is what we do. So I think that's really important. And the other thing that I was thinking about, which we can do virtually. I mean, this is a good event anytime where there's groups of people with so many different Zooms. But when we used to do person-to-person events, we'll never go back to that, where we used to, fill a hotel room with 100 people or whatever. But I remember what we did back in the day is we would bring a guest, we'd welcome them, and then we would just introduce them to somebody, and walk away. And the idea was to let somebody else be the person that's talking to them and introducing them and sharing their story. So I think the quicker we can get a new person to meet the community and hear other people's stories is very rich. And,
By the way,
again,
that was
young
a
people-
very important point on my last call. That was why I brought up the schedule, because and the WhatsApp groups. The more they integrate with the group, the more you can involve them in the assimilate them, if you will, into the community, the more likely they're going to stay. If they feel isolated, if they are isolated, they'll leave. So integration into the community is super critical. And by the way, Sherry, there are going to be 100 people at the meeting in Montreal. So we are actually going back to some of these live
Yay.
meetings. Yeah. So
That's awesome.
so this is that interaction, and I love that too. By the way, you just introduce them to somebody and walk away, because what
Yeah.
you're saying is, I trust what this person is going to say, because I know they
Yeah.
love Nika and they're going to say all the right things. Not
Yeah.
to worry about that. If you hover, then it's almost as if you're twisting that person's arm to say the right thing, and it just doesn't feel quite the same. But
Yeah.
if you just say, here, this is so and so, let them tell your story, and then walk away. And then when they're done, go grab them again and say, here, I want to meet you, introduce somebody. This was you reminded me of the shoe salesman. So the guy, Dan Cato is his name. He was one of the top networkers in a former company that I knew about. And all he was to do is that. He used to say, that's what I used to do. I just bring somebody to the meeting and hand them off from one person to the next person, the next person, to the next person. And that's all he ever did. He said, if you can do that, you can do this business.
You can do that.
Mike,
Linda.
another dimension is time and money. There are some people who have lots of money, but no time. Do they want that changed? There are people who have no money and no time. Do they want that changed? There are people who have lots of, lots of money and lots of time. Most people would like that. And there's
Oh, yeah.
one that I'm missing, but
Yeah. Just do that. Time, money. There's no time, no money. There's time, no money. There's money, no time. And then there's money and time.
Yeah, I think he didn't say you have neither.
yeah, no money, no
That's
time.
not fun. That's really not fun. No time or money. You're working your butt off and you don't have any money to show for it.
Yeah.
Well, there are
How's
so
that
many
working for you?
people
You want to keep
in
that?
these
You want to keep going?
situations.
Yeah. And that's it. If all we're trying to do is get a crack in that door, because everybody's close shut, they're all in fight or flight mode right now, right? They're all just trying to hunker down and survive. It's hard for them to imagine a better future. It really is. And our media and our governments are so vile that they've done their job at trying to just put the thumb right down on everybody's heart and mind, and to break them open out of that, man, that's our job. Our job is to really break them out of that condition, that paralysis. And it's a mental job. And they've been beaten up pretty bad. So when they see us not afraid to talk, not afraid to say what's on our mind, because we're not going to get ghosted or whatever they call it, shadow banned or whatever, censored, then we become the light. And they want to know, how do you have such confidence? Where are you getting this from? Where's this all? And it's because you've locked into something. You've locked into a community. You've locked into a concept. You've locked into a technology. It's like, it's liberating. Nature is freedom. You want to look at the way the world should be, just go look into nature. Nature's perfect. Linda, you have your hand up. We'll wrap up after that.
Yes. Oh, great. So this wonderful conversation reminds me of an interview I heard this morning. It's a very world famous motivational speaker, Les Brown. And the question was asked, now he's 77 now, and he's been in remission of cancer for about 30 years. He's been through a lot, so a lot of books. Everybody pretty much knows who Les Brown is. Well, this was a person that knows him very well in the LA area. And he said, Les, I've talked to you for many years. I've never asked you this question. If you could go back and do again what you've done now, what would you do differently? What if someone told you something that you hadn't heard, how would that have helped you with your success? And you've helped a lot of people, because basically I think our heart is to help people. And we're doing it in various ways. We're doing it through our health. We're doing through all the modalities. We're certainly doing through the finances, making friendships and whatnot. And this is what Les said. He said, I wish someone had told me that you can't help everybody. He said, I mean, I want to help you. You want to be helpful. So when he said that, I'm going, wow, that's great. And I remember sharing this, I think, with on Linda Morris's class, the other Linda Morris in Florida. We were talking a few weeks back, and I shared that, we can want something more for a person than they want it for themselves. And then once you get emotionally involved, you lose your objectivity because you want it for them so badly. So I love what you just said about walking around and seeing, who does what and all that. So in a sense, we wear this like a loosely worn garment. We have a wonderful gift to give to the world. We're wellness ambassadors. Should everybody do this? Of course they should. Will they do it? Of course they won't. And it helps me to sort out and how to read people. And I'm a spiritual person so far as knowing how to discern. And some people just aren't ready for what you have to offer at the time you're offering it. So it goes back to what Barbara said at the beginning of your call. They may not say, they may say no today, but it might be yes in 6 months. It might be yes in a year. So I've always learned to have a tool with me, something with my phone number on it, how you can text me, something to keep them engaged, because a lot of this is about timing. So I always think about what Dennis says, it's our time, tiny, their interest, not yours, and finding the timing to find out what really piqued your interest. Why did you get into this, Mr. Mike DiMuccio? What motivated you? We almost forget what it was because we've done it so well and so long like you have. But it's good to remind people that with all this going on with shifting of money and layoffs, and it's this constant stuff going on, that people's lives are so preoccupied with surviving, they're not able to focus on, my gosh, this could be my answer, but they don't know what we know. So we just have to use a lot of grace and patience and always leave a tool or something that they can call you back. I've gotten a lot of calls from people from years ago. Always have people in that pipeline because we just never know. Oh, this is my time now. And so then we'll be here to open up the doors and, help them get their new life to going. So thanks for this great call. And happy Valentine, everybody, too.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to have to be real short. Barbara, and then Sherry, and then we'll wrap.
I just want to say one thing. When you're excited about doing something new, your enthusiasm may get you to maybe embellish some results that you have seen. Don't. Always operate with integrity and be your authentic self, because then you do not have to remember, what did I say to that person? Or was it to that person? If you're always authentic and operating in integrity, you can go forward, approaching each person with your new story and build your new business.
Good stuff. Sherry.
Real quick. I know I'm pouring out Richard Brooks because I've been really loving what he's saying. So a couple of things he said that I thought would be good ending. He talks about, he said, most people don't want to join a business. They don't want to start a business because right away, initially, they think business sounds like a lot of work that they don't understand how to do. So focus on it being, we've talked about this, Mike, you've talked about the gig economy, about making some extra income, because and he said, most people they're so stuck. They're not thinking about what that would even look like. So you have to talk to people about what they would do if they had some extra money. So I'm talking about that because I think this is so good. And I think we get so good at talking about the products. We don't talk about the business. We got to get comfortable about talking about what people would do with money and help them dream a little bit. He actually used an example about, somebody said, well, I'd take a cruise, and he pulled up a cruise and, and on his laptop, and they started having a conversation about that. And he said, when somebody gets interested in the products, or he said, even if they haven't even tried the products, to put it out there, if you got benefits from this, would you, if it helped your back, and I know we're not supposed to say help now, good grief, but if it took care of a back issue that you had, would you tell other people? And so you plant that seed that this is what this business is about. This is how you can earn an extra income, is by telling other people. So I just wanted to put that out there because I
That is
think
a
we don't
great
do that
point.
enough.
And I'm going to wrap on that too, because one of the things I like to say is a litmus when network marketing objection comes up. I say, look, would you agree with me that if you didn't absolutely love these products, you wouldn't tell anybody about them anyway? So let's not even worry about the networks marketing, the business side of this, because it's not going to be relevant unless you actually find a need for these products. So let's focus on that for a second. So I just shifted away from the objection and onto what really needs to happen first anyways, before somebody's going to get passionate about the business. And then I can focus on doing some demonstrations. And that's when, bang, all the objections come down. And now we can talk about the business again. Anyway, guys, great call. Thanks for all the feedback. That's the kind of calls I like. So thank you, everybody. Have a great week and keep on keeping on. Let's keep that launch going.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy
Mike.
Valentine's.
Happy
Yeah,
Valentine's.
happy Valentine's
Thanks,
Day,
everyone.
everybody.
Yeah, happy Valentine's. And listen to nothing Mark said. I said, thank